The Cleveland Cavaliers had a pretty bonkers season last year. Last year, the Cavs would draft Evan Mobley, somebody that drew comparisons to Paul Gasol and Chris Bosh. And while he's not exactly either of those players, there are similarities and his talent is astronomical. Mobley is 7 feet tall. He weighs 215 pounds and possesses a 7'4" wingspan that he uses to deter shots at the rim. Mobley is one of those bigs that routinely makes me do double takes because of their truly unique versatility. He does a lot of things that I feel like he just shouldn't be doing, but at the same time, I feel like it's also the future of basketball. The Mobley and Allen pairing would secure Cleveland's front court as one of the best young ones in the NBA, with Jared Allen notching an all-star appearance this past season. Cleveland has made me a firm believer of the best player available approach when it comes to the NBA draft. When the Cavs took Evan Mobley, they already had Jared Allen. When the Cavs took Darius Garland, they already had Collin Sexton. If the Cavs don't take Darius Garland in the 2019 NBA draft and instead decide to draft for fit, maybe they end up with Jarrett Culver instead of what is now their franchise point guard. Last year, we would get to watch the emergence of their franchise point guard Darius Garland firsthand. Pretty hard to believe that this guy had articles written on him in his rookie year questioning if he was one of the worst players in the NBA because of advanced statistics. Admittedly, I was never a fan of the Sexton and Garland pairing, but I was always high on Garland. November 12th, I actually tweeted that he could be a superstar, but he just needed more shots and aggression. And while unfortunately, Garland would be forced to become a more aggressive version of himself due to the early season injury to Collin Sexton, and also Ricky Rubio tearing his ACL. Rubio was so good before he went down with his ACL tear. Going back and looking at his stats, I can't believe that some of his averages weren't better. He had a real impact on that team, and when that team lost him, they lost a lot. Watching him play with two athletic bigs is something that I look forward to doing again. Guys, I don't care what Cleveland's record was to finish last season. Last year, they were really good, but unfortunately for them, their injuries were really bad. Sexton's injury couldn't have came at a worse time, as it would come in a season where Collin would be preparing for restricted free agency. The 11 games that Collin played last year are a small sample size that wouldn't reflect Collin's true ability. Now, if we were to go back to the 2020-2021 season, that season would tell a different story, as Sexton would average 24.3 points and 4.4 assists on 47.5% from the field and 37.1% from the three. This year, Sexton would only average 16 points and 2 assists. While these averages aren't bad by any means, they don't exactly scream high-dollar contract, especially when there's already another high-level point guard on the roster who just played in the All-Star game at the age of 22. Oh, and by the way, your team just had its most successful season since the departure of LeBron James while you were hurt. There's no doubt that the Cavs played this past season with improved ball movement and as if they actually enjoyed the game of basketball. When the Cavs were bad, we saw things like this way more frequently than we should.
You know, like I say,
that's just his nature.
It is. Great nose for offensive rebounding, which is very difficult to do. It's more of just kind of an innate ability than anything.
Shot clock down to 2.
This play literally gives me vibes of Kobe being frustrated that Lin would not foul. If you guys thought that Love clip was bad, well, unfortunately things get a whole lot worse. I've seen multiple reports over the years alluding to Collin Sexton being a terrible teammate. May 4th, 2021, The Athletic reported that various Cavs players still grow frustrated by the way that Sexton dominates the ball, and opponents taunt them by saying during games that you know he's not going to pass you the ball. That is wildly disrespectful. I'm not going to call these reports true or anything like that, but what The Athletic just explained is a very bad feeling for a hooper to have. There's nothing worse than working all game, getting open, and trying to find good shots while playing team ball to not get the basketball. I'm pretty sure we've all been there. I remember one time I literally walked off the court and told my team to pick somebody else up because I wasn't getting the ball wide open, not at the three-point line, but right under the basket. These days, I feel like playing pickup is like playing the rec on 2K. You really gotta go with at least a few people you know. Now, these reports surrounding Sexton were so loud that he had to address them. Let's just go ahead and quote Sexton. Quote, "He might be screaming at me right here, but there's a message behind it. Knowing that there's no bad people on our team and everybody is coming from a good place. I know everyone's here to pretty much help. Whenever I say something, I don't want them to feel like I'm trying to show them up or just trying to say something just to say something. I just make sure I come correct and come the right way. There's only one end goal, and that's to win. No one is trying to show each other up. JB Bickerstaff established that from the get-go and established at the beginning of the season that everyone is here to get better. And if you have something to say, make sure you tell it in a way that's coming off genuine and from the heart." What I got from this is that while Sexton may correct his teammates, he's articulating that he's doing it coming from a good place. Let me know what you guys think of these comments from Sexton down in the comments below. Now, at the time that I'm making this video, Collin Sexton is still a free agent. July 24th, the Cavaliers tried to change that, but they would have no luck. The Cavaliers would reportedly offer Collin Sexton a 3-year deal worth around $40 million. Reportedly, Collin Sexton wouldn't be very pleased with this offer. A Cavs insider said that it's not the money that he believes that he should get and his camp believes that he deserves. The Athletic would basically co-sign this notion, as Shams would report that Clutch Sports have shown so far that they won't settle in negotiations. Discussions could go into training camp and potentially into the season. This is very bad news for Collin Sexton unless the Cavaliers basically just decide to cave in. The Cavs have all of the negotiating power here. Sexton is coming off of a major injury, he's already undersized, and if he takes that qualifying offer, who's to say that the Cavs don't bench him? With restricted free agency, if you're not getting a max or close to it, then you might just be at the mercy of the market, which can be very unforgiving. Now, Sexton is a lot of things, but what he isn't is a bad basketball player. He competes every night, and while he is an undersized scoring guard, he's a competitor that has, at worst, gotten better on the defensive side of the basketball. Don't forget that if he were to return to Cleveland, he'd also have multiple footers playing behind him. Now, there are some questions like, will he reach his ceiling in Cleveland, and could he be more valuable for another team? Honestly, I wouldn't be mad at this pair going in separate directions, but I do want Sexton to get his respect. Regardless of how anybody feels about Sexton, I think that most of us can agree that him still being available is wild. As much fun as it was watching Garland carry the load last season, you could never have too much scoring or guard depth, which is why the Cavs added LeVert, brought back Ricky, and drafted Agbaji, a 6'6" wing with a long wingspan at 6'10", whose shooting got him compared to Desmond Bane. He's a nasty athlete too. Throwing a two-way player like him into the mix is going to be a lot of fun for Cleveland. I had him ranked as one of the most NBA-ready prospects in this year's draft. I think that his selection is going to pay dividends for the Cavs. In the comments below, I want to know what you guys think the odds of Sexton remaining in Cleveland are. While I know it's still a possibility, honestly, I'm not too optimistic with some of these reports that I've seen dropping. July 27th, a report dropped that there are multiple people inside the organization that if they had to choose between Caris and Collin, that they would take Caris over Collin because of his size. The report would go on to talk about the defensive versatility and that they liked what they saw with Caris and Darius together. These reports honestly remind me of what the Golden State Warriors said when they traded D'Angelo Russell. They liked Russell, but at the same time, they wanted more versatility and length on the defensive side of the basketball. The versatility and length that they got in exchange for D'Angelo Russell proved to be pretty valuable to them, if you ask me. When it comes to a market for Collin Sexton, I've seen some things like the Wizards might be interested and that the Jazz have explored signing trade options that would send Mike Conley to the Cavs. If Mitch gets traded, then that Jazz trade really interests me. The Jazz buying low on Collin Sexton in a rebuilding year and letting him rebuild his value while tanking for one of the best prospects that we've ever seen sounds generational. Sign me up for that. Let me know what you guys think of everything down in the comments below. Clicking the video on the screen right now is a great way to support my channel. I'm GETLIKECOOP bringing you guys the scoop. Until our next upload.